What's up, bosses? Welcome to About Her Business, the podcast where we leave all the gossip at the door and get straight down to business. I'm your host, Jonte, and today we have licensed social worker and CEO of See the Wonder LLC, Miss Tiffany Leader. Now, Miss Leader has spent more than 15 years in the mental health field, helping people overcome things like burnout. And she's here today to help us take a breather on what she means business. So, ladies, grab your cups and your notepads and let's get down to it. The meeting is now in session. Welcome, Miss Leader.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I am so excited to have this conversation and be here with you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much for coming on our podcast today. You ready to get into it?
Yeah, let's do it.
Perfect. So let's begin with burnout.
Yeah.
It quite often these days is seen as like a badge of honor,
Yeah.
especially in high achievement places.
Mhm.
How did your own experience with burnout reshape your understanding of success and productivity?
Oh my gosh. So my experience with burnout, so I like to call it the burnout incident because it was a slow fade. And I probably haven't been burnt out before because just being in the social work field, it is common for us to get to that place of burnout. But when I started understanding that burnout is unresolved chronic stress, then I realized the burnout. And I wish I could have said that I was like, "Oh, yeah, that's what it is." But really, my therapist sat me down and was like, "Tiffany, when's it going to get better?" Because I grabbed the thought, it's going to get better when. It's going to get better when we meet these different milestones in the organization that I was in. And the reality was, I was carrying all the stress. I wasn't really dealing with it well. And I was constantly advocating for my position. And so through all of that was like a perfect storm that was leading to me to be burned out. I wasn't dealing with those little pieces of stress.
Uh, and what drew you to specialize in supporting helpers like caregivers, clinicians, and service oriented leaders? And what unique challenges do they face that others might not?
Yeah, I think that so as helpers and healers and high achievers, we can have this expectation that we have to be loyal. And when we're loyal and dependable, that means we're overworking and we're overstretching ourselves. It's a norm in our field and in the workplace. And that is something I think that is unique to us, but also I think something that's unique to us is that we care.
Mhm.
We care. We wear our hearts on our sleeves sometimes. We want to save the world. I always say the social workers and helpers, we have that save the world mentality, which is great to get us into the field that we're in. But what happens is that we are not able to handle the load. We start having compassion fatigue because there's so many people that we're talking to. There's so much to be done. There's not enough people to do the work, and so that those are what I like to call singes towards burnout, and those are unique things, and I think too, another part is that our personal development is directly tied to our professional development. So, if we are not taking care of ourselves well, we can that shows up in our performance, that shows up when we are sitting across from another client, that shows up in the work that we're doing. And so, I think often we can help our clients, but we don't help ourselves. And so in that, also, I think burnout can lie in there as well.
I agree. And, just being a helper, whether you're a social worker, a counselor, or just a doctor in the field,
Yes.
you
Mhm.
can easily just overwork yourself to try to meet those
Exactly.
goals and deadlines. But it's
Yeah.
also often seen in the entrepreneur field.
Yes.
So let's talk about that for a minute.
Yes.
Many entrepreneurs, they push themselves past healthy limits without noticing. What
Yes.
are the warning signs of burnout you teach people to watch for?
Yeah. I think of irritability. You're getting upset about all the little things or the things that I think about recently. I had something where my inbox came a couple of emails of different things that were unexpected that was related to the business side. And it was like, I feel like I have to address this now. So there's this sense of urgency because we're going to miss out on the algorithm. We're going to miss out on that marketing strategy. We're going to miss out on these clients. And so there's this false sense of urgency that keep us in that hustle as business owners, and I think all the weight is on our shoulders too. We aren't
Ab
just the person that's giving the service. We are the financial officer. We are the support staff. We are the marketer. We are, the content creator for a while. And so when we're in all of those hats and feel this sense of urgency, we think everything is urgent. Started our business because of the passion we have, or we wanted to get out of corporate, or we wanted to do something different and do it on our own terms. But as a high achiever and high performers, we tend to overextend ourselves instead of trusting ourselves. That's where I feel like sometimes is the breakdown. It's like, do we trust what we put out there is going to be received by the people that need to be, and that our business will run whether we're in it or not?
Absolutely. And you made a great point there of literally combining all of those titles into one, especially being an entrepreneur. You can be the CEO, the CFO, the CIO. It doesn't matter. You are carrying all those hats and it can easily lead straight to burnout. Now, and speaking of combinations, you combine therapy with coaching and community support in your work. How do these approaches complement each other, and why is that combination so powerful for high achievers?
Yeah, I think for at least I can speak to myself and people that maybe or identify with me. I like to have a variety in the work that I do. Even when I just did therapy work, I found myself in mid management helping train new clinicians and whatnot in the groups that I was in because I found I needed variety in the work that I was doing. And so for me, creating the community that I do, creating a coaching side of my business is helping really mitigate burnout because I was getting burnout just doing the same thing in therapy over and over. I still love therapy. I love the clients that I see. However, I have found that coaching, because coaching is different than therapy, coaching is more future focused. We're not deep diving into the past. We're not dealing with past traumas. They may come up a little bit, but coaching is very much future focused. So it's a different lens that you take and a different approach than you take with therapy.
Mhm,
And I researched when I was going through my own burnout, I was researching what were therapists doing in to help mitigate burnout, and coaching just kept coming to the surface.
mhm. And you made a key point there about the difference between therapy and coaching. So let's go right into the next question. Soul nourishing work and ambition can sometimes feel like they're at odds. How do you help people create a rhythm where they can both coexist?
Yeah, so I like to call it rhythm instead of balance because when we think of balance, we're either on balance or we're not. Whereas rhythm creates flexibility and adaptability. And we have to have a flexibility of our personal life. And we have to have a flexibility of our business life. They might bleed in a little bit to each other, but some seasons, you're gonna need more personal time and more things going on in your personal life. And other seasons, you're gonna have more in your business. And so when we can be flexible and adjust that rhythm, then depending on the season of life you're in, even the week for us as women specifically, every week is different with our hormones, right? So if you start cycle syncing your business to your hormone, you will be surprised on what happens because you're able to have those weeks that you need rest, you rest. Those weeks, like when you're about to ovulate, it's like high energy. That's when I do content creation. That's when I'm on podcasts. That's when I'm doing all these things. And then on the lower ones are kind of like those more, I call it admin tasks that don't take a lot of energy. Those go on the weeks that I don't have as much energy. So,
And thank you for sharing because as a person who has worked in a very demanding corporate style before, learning how to balance the business side and that personal side is very valuable, especially when it comes to nervous system regulation. So let's talk about that. In
yeah.
your view, what role does nervous system regulation play in managing chronic stress? And how can someone begin to practice it in their daily life?
Yeah, so nervous system regulation is the dance that it's the rhythm that I'm talking about. I think right now a lot of people are talking about it and they're saying, I have to be regulated. I have to be regulated all the time. And I started researching and I was like, what does that actually mean? And a lot of people are saying, I want to be in that Zen, calm mode all the time. Well, the reality is of life is that we can't because the activation side, even if it's small, the activation side gets you up in the morning. It helps you brush your teeth and make sure that you have food. I always like to use an example of like if you sprain your ankle. When you sprain your ankle, you get activated. So you're like, okay, I got to take care of my ankle. How can I get inside if I'm outside? How can I be safe with my ankle? Once you get to safety, we kind of go to the other side, the rest and digest. That's that 30 minutes after where your ankle starts hurting and it starts swelling up because your body's like, oh, I'm safe. I can rest. And now my body's gonna flood the blood there. It's gonna flood the pain receptors there and tell me what I need. Often, we tend to work on the heightened side and stay there, but we were never designed to stay there. So some easy kind of tips in, navigating the flow of activation and the rest and digest. I think one is just noticing, when am I activated? When am I in rest and digest? Just observe how you're feeling that day. Do you feel like you're going down into rest and digest? Often I talk to people and they're like, I don't even know what that really means to rest. I don't even know what that feels like. And we start kind of working on what that looks like. But an easy and one of the most underrated tools that we can start using for nervous system regulation is your breath. A
Mhm.
good 10-second breath, 4 counts in, 6 counts out, can help signal your body that you're safe and that you're okay.
And I know there's gonna be somebody out there that does not believe that the breathing exercise or
Yes.
able to take 3 deep breaths before you going into your next meeting. It does calm you in a way to where you're able to actually show up for the meeting versus run away from it.
Right, exactly, and you have to teach your body that breathing is safe.
Absolutely.
At first, when you're heightened and you're just breathing from the chest, that's what your body knows. You have to remind it when you start breathing from your stomach that it's safe, that it's okay, and then once you do the reps, kinda like at the gym, once you do the reps, your body's going to actually do it for you, but your body will be like, "Oh, I can do this. This will help me focus." So it takes a little bit of practice.
Absolutely. And you did mention women while we were talking about nervous system regulation. So let's talk about women entrepreneurs for a second.
Yeah.
For women entrepreneurs, the pressure to do it all can be intense sometimes. How do you guide them towards sustainable productivity without feeling guilty?
Yeah, that guilt is a big thing that comes up. I even have felt that as well. And so I'd like to say, what's underneath the guilt? Like, what's driving the guilt? Is it I'm not good enough? I'm not doing enough? It could be a bunch of different beliefs that you're believing. And I like to remind people the definition of guilt, if you look at just like Webster's definition, it's saying that we're doing guilt is saying that you created a moral like action, like an immoral action. So I'd like to say to women entrepreneurs that are high performers, they're just like me, like, is what you're doing or not doing morally wrong? And typically the answer is no. It's not morally wrong. Okay. That means that guilt that you're feeling is false guilt, or it's being driven by the feeling of I'm not good enough, or I'm not worthy enough, or I feel like I have to hustle to prove myself. That's when you want to work on those underneath a lot. In my coaching, I work on that underneath those beliefs so that the guilt can dissipate and you can see that you can take a moment. You can take a step back. You can trust yourself and what you're putting out there with your work will be received and your business will still be successful even if you take that break.
Let's talk about your story for a second because when people often look at professionals in this field, they look at it as being perfect and never been through anything. When often a lot of people that work in this field come from very much so lived experiences.
Mhm.
So your personal story of burnout, it led to a shift and how you define care for yourself and others. Can you share a pivotal moment that changed your approach?
Yeah, I definitely will go back to the moment I kind of alluded to earlier is when I was sitting on my therapist's couch and she was like, Tiffany, when's it gonna get better? Because if I break that down, I thought that I just had to lean in and push through for it to get better. I even started therapy because I was having panic attacks and anxiety. And that was my body telling me, like, you're on the edge of burnout. But in my mind, I was like, I just need to go to therapy to fix it. I just need to handle the anxiety, get some more tools, and it was fine. But the underlying belief was like, I gotta stick this in. Like, I am loyal to a fault. We're gonna figure this out. And I just didn't know when to stop. And I think some of that was a belief of, like, worthiness. Am I worthy to do this work? Can I do this work? I think I defined my identity by doing complex trauma work, and that was the work I was trying to navigate in this organization. And so also the flip side of thinking about leaving or stopping was like, "Man, am I a failure if I stop this? So I'm gonna stick it out." That's what drove me. It was like, "I'm just gonna stick it out." And that question of, "Is it gonna get better?" was a huge light bulb moment because I was like, "I don't know." And I, like, collapsed on her couch, and she was like, "Tiffany, we're gonna have to look at hard decisions you have to make to really take care of yourself." And we also worked through those underlying beliefs of feeling like a failure, not worthy, how I defined myself in my career.
Mhm. And again, thank you for sharing with our audience that because again, people think that we don't seek help ourselves when
Right.
we are all big on that word community. So let's talk about community for a minute.
Yeah.
It seems very central to your practice.
Mhm.
How does connecting with others help prevent or recover from burnout, in your opinion?
Oh, yes. I love Brene Brown, and she has a quote. Yeah, she has a quote that says, "We are wired for connection, and without it, we are suffering." So that is my, like, foundation for community. And if you look at different research and different things about a sense of belonging, we need people. We
Mhm.
need other people. We needed other like-minded people so that we can link arms together and we can lift each other up. Whenever we believe a thought that we can do it ourselves, and I know that's a common thought amongst us helpers, is that we're like, well, I'll just do it myself, or it's fine. I don't need other people. Well, we're lying to ourselves. 2024, the Surgeon General put out a report that said we are in a loneliness epidemic in our country, and the loneliness epidemic is like smoking 14 cigarettes a day. That's what a lack of community is placing on our body, the burden that's placing on our body. And so, even more so, community is important because we need that connection. We need people to see our blind spots. We need the people to celebrate with us. It's just part of who we are.
Mhm. And that is a very good point to make because often when you are out in community, you may feel like you're not supported, but actually going out and joining groups, whether if they're locally or nationally, it can make you feel a little bit more included in this environment and continue to help break stigmas.
Yes, exactly, and I'll just say this, I know it's hard. It's been hard for me. My husband and I, we full-time, we RV and we travel a lot, and so I have to be very intentional to create community in spaces and places, and I know since past COVID, it's been really hard to create community and to find those friends, but my encouragement to those that are listening is to keep trying. Showing up in those spaces because you will find your people, and it'll be worth it. It's gonna be worth it.
And I'll second that. Now, community is big in this profession, but also debunking all of those myths that are out there.
Yeah.
Let's talk about myths for a second. What are some common myths about burnout that you frequently encounter in professional women's spaces?
Oh, yeah, that it's normal. That it's just part of life. that we're gonna be burnt out as a mom, we're gonna be burnt out as an entrepreneur, we're gonna be burnt out as a worker. We have to, like, if you think of women specifically and just historically how we've had to prove ourselves in the workplace to our male counterparts in salary and equity and all that kind of stuff, we think it's normal that we have to push and prove and grind to really get our voices heard. And yes, I am all about advocacy and hard work and making sure that you amplify your voice, but at the detriment of yourself is where the breakdown happens.
Again, that was some great advice, like, literally not pushing yourself to the limit of
Yeah.
what you know you're ready for. That
Yeah.
is great advice that I think our audience really needed to hear. So, let's go back to entrepreneurs for a second. For those that are running their own businesses, how can they regulate self-care routines without feel like they're necessarily having to slow down?
Yeah, so I'm a big believer of working hard because I'm a high achiever too. I'm a high performer as well. But in order to work hard, rest needs to be part of your business plan because your ability to work hard directly is correlated and is reflected in your ability to rest. Our like here's the deal. We are limited human beings. We like to think we're robots, right? But we're not. We need a recharge. We can't just go, go, go. We need to plug in somewhere. So finding what your recharge is, and I have found as an entrepreneur specifically, recharging and rest bursts creativity. My best ideas come when I'm not hustling, when I'm on vacation. Like I have a whole folder in my phone that is I call it the vacation brain dump. So anytime I have time off, I can put all of my ideas in there and just leave it there so I can continue to rest. But that's yeah, I think navigating and knowing that, like, rest is part of your business look and I'll tell you what, again, as a high achiever and performer, that feels weird. That feels, like, foreign. But the more that I do it, the more I have found, like, my business thrives actually more from me resting and taking a step back than trying to be in it 24/7.
I love it, and I wanna stick with entrepreneurs for a second. How do you help clients navigate compassion fatigue, especially when their work requires such deep emotional labor?
Finding yourself a good therapist. I say every therapist, coach, any service provider, really massage therapist, you can be anybody. You gotta find help for yourself, period. We're not good if we don't have help. We got blind spots too, and we need that help. And there may be seasons that you don't, but we are learners and I know that we love to learn and we love to grow and we love to see that in our clients, but we need it for ourselves. Going back to what I said about our personal life is directly affected by our professional life. If we don't take care of ourselves, we cannot handle the capacity and the emotional load of other people if we're not taking care of ourselves.
Absolutely, and that is a great point.
And what I love about it from us being in the profession, we know that HIPAA is a thing. So we can talk about every part of our life
Mhm,
because often we're filtering to family and friends because we can't. We
mm.
can't talk about our clients. We can't talk about certain things. But when you have your own therapist, it is wide open. I remember the first time I was going during that burnout incident that I started going to therapy, and I was just talking about all things at work, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I can talk to them about everything. I don't have to filter myself." And the freedom that comes from that is, like, huge.
And I agree because that was one of the reasons why I originally started therapy. I was like, I can go and talk to this professional, and they're literally bound by contract as long as I'm not a threat to myself or anyone else. And
Exact
they can tell it about it. Whereas when you're with, like you said, with family and friends, you have to filter that because of risk of it getting out.
Right, exactly, and that's a small stressor that
Mhm.
deposits in our body that we don't think about.
Absolutely. Now, Ms. Leader, we're getting close to the end of our episode today, and we only have a couple of more questions left. I want to look back on your journey for a minute. What is one lesson about balance and self-preservation you wish you had learned earlier?
Gosh, I wish I would have learned about the rhythm that I talk about, that there's a rhythm in every season because I have found myself, even when I look back of trying to fit myself in certain seasons that didn't work anymore and trying to fit me in spaces and places because I do have a chronic illness. That's part of my story is that the burnout exasperated the chronic illness. So even as I was starting my business, I could not work like I did in my 20s. And
Oh, wow.
I wanted to. I have the like gumption, like, loyal to a fault, personality. But I realized like if I don't have that rhythm, I'm literally not gonna be here anymore.
Mhm.
That's how it felt to me because my burnout kept breaking my body down even further. And that's what happens to us if we continue to stay in burnout, if we continue to not take care of ourselves and find those rhythms in different seasons, then our body will tell us, it will start breaking down. I've talked to so many people where they've been hospital thankfully, I haven't been, but I've talked to so many people that have been hospitalized because they did push themselves too far when it came to burnout, and so to the listeners, like, I don't want you to ever get to that point. So if you can find a rhythm in your life where you can carve space for yourself and your work, please do it, and if you don't have anybody to walk you through it, I'm happy to chat with you.
Leader, we have come to our last question, and we always leave with a legacy. So I give you a few moments to think about this. If someone feels stuck in a cycle of overwhelm right now, what's a small but powerful first step you recommend them starting with?
Yeah, take a moment. That's what I call some of the practices I teach is take a moment. If all you can do is step outside right now, or all you can do is breathe in your coffee brewing in the morning, if all you can do is give yourself like a gentle hug, if all you can do is just change your environment just a little bit, like I said, stepping outside, going in, maybe you're in the kitchen and go to the living room, step away from your computer, take a drink of water, just take that breath. If you can just start there and finding those micro moments, it changes your life. That's where sustainability happens in those rhythms. Because I think it's like we have to overhaul our entire lives, and that's like makes you feel stressed out anyways. But if you can take those small moments to relieve some stress, it will change everything in your day.
Absolutely. And I love every single tip that you've given because I probably practiced every single last one of them in my previous job. And I'm here to tell you if you take misleader steps, it will help you make it to the next day, the next step, the next meeting, or start your next business. Now, sadly, our time has run out today. But before we go, we want to make sure that we get all of Miss Leader's information. How can we find See the Wonder LLC? Where to follow you? Let us know all the details.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm primarily on Substack these days. We do have an Instagram that is See the Wonder LLC, but I'm gonna point you to Substack because that's where the podcast. I have a podcast called Breaking Up with Burnout. That's where that's housed. I have my articles there. You can go to our website, seethewonder.net. And yeah, you can always email me, you guys. I'll give my email to you guys so you can have it. I love corresponding via email. It's been so fun lately.
Awesome. And I will make sure to leave all of that information down in the description box below. Any last words before we adjourn today's meeting, Ms. Leader?
Yes, I'll just encourage all of you that are here is to take that moment. Take your first step. If you're feeling overwhelmed and stressed out, just take a moment, lean back and take that breath and know that like you're going to be okay. You're going to make it. Your business is going to be successful. You are going to be successful. You're going to be able to pursue the dreams and desires you have within you. But making sure you take those breaks, take that rest, find the rhythm instead of the balance.
Love it. Make sure you guys are finding that rhythm. And with that, today's meeting is now adjourned. Thanks again to licensed social worker, Miss Tiffany Leader, and the Wonder LLC for coming on and offering all her insights. Be sure to subscribe to About Her Business wherever you receive your podcast so you never miss an upload. Also, leave me some comments down in that comment section or which industry you think I should interview next. Until next time, keep those goals tight, that circle tighter, and that bank account growing.